Welcome, Luke. This is a very informal type of conversation that we're having. We just met last weekend during the, I think did you know it could be considered the first ever hackathon on Catholic University's campus?
Really? I didn't know it was the first, but it was definitely an impressive event. So
I think,
really excited to be a part of that.
yes, terrific. And congratulations for winning it, you and your team.
Appreciate it.
So one thing came after the other. We live in a very fast paced world. And when I saw what you built in the hackathon, I thought, what is the best way to support you? Because you also have a startup. You did not only create a product at the moment, but you have a startup. I want to help promote and help others discover you as an entrepreneur, your current startup, in your journey, and perhaps inspire other students of entrepreneurship and who are exploring generative AI, inspire their journeys. So with that in mind, what I wanted to do was actually create a brief series of questions. I'm going to show what I have here real quick. I use this to give examples of people. People are always asking me, so how do I use generative AI? Why do I have to use it? And I would love to hear how you use it in a second. But what I'm going to do is very quickly tell this agent that I created, which is a master networker, which I'm using all the time to help me come up with strategies, ideas, questions, how to approach a conversation, a meeting, an email, right? Because the goal of this master networker is to help me as the CEO of Alma connect with others, right? And maximize chances of connection. So what I'm going to say very quickly is help me come up with questions. It's very hard to speak and type at the same time. Questions to ask during a quick interview, online with Luke. His bio is below. So this is just an example. I copied and took your entire LinkedIn, just pasted there to give people an idea of how this works. And it's coming up with a few questions. Let's see what it comes up. Let's see if you agree. Open personal question. Okay, here we go. You said GovRat was born from your frustration watching the same insiders win big contracts. So what was the exact moment when you knew you had to build something to change it? Is that a good question? Would you like to answer that?
That's a great question. I can talk about that. So when I was working in Congress as an intern, they assigned me a assignment. They said, Luke, go through all the public procurement portals, basically how the government buys goods and services, and find a way we can streamline that from the government side. So I was looking into the portals. I got very familiar with government procurement, all the different avenues they do for buying these goods and services. And I was reading a Wikipedia page, somewhat tangential to it, about all of the times that the government has been overpriced for these goods and services, whether that's through a corrupt relationship between a vendor and a government official who's overseeing the process, or just through a lack of competition and the regulations kind of crowding out different qualified businesses who would be able to charge a better price, but the different procedures and regulations they have surrounding that kind of box them out. So the exact moment was this Wikipedia article detailing time after time that the government was overpaying for these goods and services. And I thought initially I wanted to create a data transparency project using the coding skills I had prior to just take all of the contracts the government has ever had and predict how much new ones should be priced based on that historical data. And then it kind of snowballed into different ways that I could create a consumer level product or a private sector product that businesses could use to get involved in the space. And conversations with different businesses in the space have kind of snowballed and led to GovRat to what it is today. But that exact moment was actually, I was reading a Wikipedia article while in the gaming lounge at Catholic U. So that was the actual inception moment, but
Terrific.
that was a great question.
Terrific. So, good question from the agent, and it actually, I love the story, the aspects of this drive of driving towards transparency, right? This desire of providing more transparency to the common good, right? Where government spends its money, it could be done better. We grow up in this country knowing that it is not well spent. A lot of times we heard of scandals, and you uphold that value. You try to bring a solution, and that is when you are 19. So how long ago that's been? Not trying to date you here, but just trying to get into where are you now, if you will, with GovRat?
No, yeah, that's all right. So in December, that will be exactly 2 years since that Wikipedia page moment. And it took about a year and 3 months to get to the point where we were actually a production grade application that people could go to, sign up, and then it actually works for them. It took a lot of iterating, a lot of figuring out how to work with Amazon Web Services, get their
Ah,
cloud hosting, and make sure that's all secure, because a lot of our clients obviously put information and documents in there that's the type of stuff you wouldn't want the world to see. So
yeah.
we had to make sure those processes were secure. A lot of testing went involved in that to get to the point where we were confident in the product that people could actually use. And since then, there's been a lot of iterating, mostly based on customer feedback. We've streamlined and cut out a lot of features, actually,
Ah,
that we saw customers were not using. So a lot of historical data reports where you could go in by industry and basically filter out, get different pie charts and graphs and everything, mapping all that out. We found that customers wouldn't use those if it was a separate section, but they would if we integrated it with the existing workflows they were already in. So like the recommended algorithm, we found that uh, instead of creating a separate data reports or analytics feature or page where they could see like everything that the contracting officer has worked on in the past, if instead on the recommendations page where they already were, if you clicked the email of the contracting officer and then it generated that report, that was a lot more seamless experience for them that they would actually use. So just small things like that that would compound over time. That's what we've been doing for the past 8 months or so. But 105 customers as of this morning.
congratulations. Oh, this
Yeah,
morning, so you
appreciate
just
it.
signed somebody.
Yeah, yeah. Every now and then someone will sign up new. Most of our outreach has been through LinkedIn, some cold call stuff, another system I have, which we're keeping internal. But um, yeah, so that's where we're at. That's what's been happening over the
In
last
eight
two
months.
years. But yeah, great question. I appreciate you asking that.
Terrific. So,
Yeah.
I love the fact what you're sharing there. It's common to a lot of entrepreneurs that you think customers will need something. In this case, the pie charts that you mentioned,
Mhm.
and then through observation, you find out that it's not as critical. They don't care. They
Mhm.
don't truly necessarily know how to use it. But if you ask them, um, it becomes more clear, and sometimes you can cut on features, right?
Mhm.
I saw you during the preparations of the hackathon going around and asking questions to the other professors who were part of the committees, but and I suspected very quickly you were doing customer interviews. So that is speak a little bit about your experience doing those interviews, which are critical, right? Because if you don't build what people won't use it, people won't pay for it.
Yeah. So that was a huge lesson that I've learned over the past year. At first, I kind of had this vision of entrepreneurship, especially tech entrepreneurship, that you build this product, you tell people about it, and then they just love it at first sight. And usually that's not the case. Some people create viral products that are just so they speak for themselves. But that was not the case with GovRat early on. People would sign up and then they'd use it for a week or so, and then I'd be checking their user activity, and I'm like, why are they not using it anymore? I thought that this thing was great. And so I had to kind of humble myself and say, like, I didn't create a phenomenal product that people would use over and over on the first go. And I had to have these conversations and look at their user activity data as they were interacting with the application. And we kind of, or I kind of figured out that users don't care about the complexity of your processes. They care about the simplicity of your outcomes that you deliver for them. And so we basically redesigned the entire architecture over the past 8 months to be more outcome focused. So
Okay.
rather than having the user, for example, when they sign up, fill out forms saying, what does your company do?
Uh-huh.
What certifications do you have? What are you involved in? We just figured that all that information would already be on their website's URL, and we took the burden off the user. We said, don't give us all that information. Don't fill out a 10-form survey so we can understand your company. Give us your website URL. We'll take on that burden. We'll have an agent scrape your website, every single character on it, and train our models on it so that you don't have to enter all that information. And that's been one of the features that people have been most impressed by,
Mhm.
because every other competitor in the market asked them to do those 10 onboarding things to upload 15 documents, and they can
Ah,
still do that if they want
uh-huh,
to.
uh-huh.
But that URL, that agent scraping their website where that information is already displayed, that's been a huge value add. And pretty much the past 8 months have just been what I've called, like, in my head, baby optimization.
Uh-huh.
We want a baby. We don't want a baby to, but if a baby wanted to accidentally bid on a government contract, we want our interface to be so simple, so easy to navigate that it could feasibly happen.
Terrific.
But yeah,
Yes, that's you know that you probably know the story, but that is basically how Apple decided on the lock unlock mechanism of iPhones, iPhone number one, right? They had a lot of internal conversations saying, how do we unlock this thing? Is it a physical button? Is it a combination? What is it? And back then, what is it, 15 years, 20 years ago, there weren't crystal screens that could read your digital print like there is
hmm
nowadays. So what they tested a lot of things, and somebody came up with this lighting. Do you remember the iPhone 1? Or
yeah,
you're
when
too
I was
young
like
for it?
4, yeah.
Yeah. But the first mechanism was a swipe. You needed to swipe an
hmm
arrow, right? Just like toggles, we have toggles nowadays, but you have to move the arrow towards the right, and it would unlock. And an engineer put it together on a prototype and took it to his house and put it in front of a 4-year-old. Didn't say anything, and the 4-year-old took his finger and just slide it and open the iPhone, right? So the baby analogy is tremendous. You are exactly on the right track. If a baby can use it, your platform is doing a lot of benefit. That's terrific. Um, so what can you tell us about the amount of work that this takes? So the agent here says that you have worked more than 3,000 hours. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's definitely accurate. It has been very much all consuming, not to the point where it's like detrimental to me or anything like that, but if you ask like my roommates or anyone around me, they're always like, okay, Luke, he's always working, he's always coding. And that's really kind of what you have to put in and to build something that is new, that people actually want. Um, yeah, I've put quite a lot into it. And yeah, 3,000 hours is definitely
Sounds about right.
accurate
Now,
statement.
the 3,000 hours equate to 1.5 years of work, right? It's chargeable hours or working hours in a typical year out of
Yeah.
50 something weeks, 52 weeks plus minus 2 of vacation is 2,000 hours, 2,080, I think it is.
Mhm.
So 3,000. So how long did it take you to put those 3,000 hours of work?
Uh, about 2 years. I've been enrolled in undergrad during the fall and spring semester, so that's been some of the time. Luckily, I do have different. Some certain majors would not be able to build GovRat in their free time. I am in a major where I am able to do that. Um,
So clarify that for us, right? Because you're not a computer science engineer, and all of a sudden you're talking about our development hours and features and simplifying and agents to scrape websites. How can a non-computer science engineer student build and actually spend this number of hours creating a real product for which people will pay money? How is that
yeah.
possible?
Yeah, so it started with training. I had a background growing up where I was part of a Harry Potter Minecraft server. Minecraft's like a blocky video game that was really popular in the 2010s, and I was making a tiny bit of money creating like little modifications to the video game,
Yeah.
basically, that would allow this block video game to kind of have this Harry Potter world building aspect to it. So I did have a coding background from that.
Mm-hmm.
But coming into I'd say senior year of high school through freshman and sophomore year of college, I was always taking Meta's uh, courses on Coursera. I don't know if you're familiar with that learning platform,
Mm-hmm.
but it basically taught me all I know about full stack web development, back end web
Okay.
development, front end web development. All of the infrastructure that GovRat is built on is basically the same infrastructure that Instagram, Facebook, all of the different Meta products are built off of, because I learned how to code from those courses that Meta offered. So I was very I'm very grateful to Meta for offering that at such a affordable and accessible way that actually taught me uh, production grade coding techniques. So that was how I learned, and then really it's just been putting in the hours. Particularly, Cursor was a huge help. Cursor was a uh, development environment, so a place where a coder will go into to actually write their code, that
Mm-hmm.
was released in 2023 or 24. It's the fastest growing company of all time to a $1 billion valuation. I can talk more about that, but I was one of their first 100 users. I found out
Wow.
about them
Okay.
from a comment on this Reddit, the subreddit about AI. Their founder had posted a link to their thing that they were using in the comments, and it only had like 3 likes, this random comment. And I tried out this thing, and I was like, oh my God, this is wonderful. Because
Yeah.
it was already using this IDE that I was familiar with of VS Code, which was developed by Microsoft.
We all,
And then
yeah.
they had seamlessly integrated AI into it so that I could read my code base, but also be steeped in this development environment that I was already familiar with.
Yeah.
And so they were able to shortcut that familiarity, and they became the fastest growing $1 billion company in history. I think it took them like 4 months, something crazy,
Yes.
to reach a $1 billion valuation. But
Terrific.
yeah, been using
Sadly, you
that ever
couldn't get
since.
a few stock options, at least for being among the
Yeah,
first 100, right?
yeah. No, that would have
It
been
was something.
fantastic.
Terrific, terrific. So to recap this for the non-technical audience out there, a lot of people are wondering, a lot of people are pondering, right? How do I benefit from this
Mhm.
technology? You've been able, not being a computer science student, while going through college, and I think you're in political science and in business. Is that your background?
Yeah, politics major. They classify it as politics here, not as science, because Catholic University is its own thing.
Okay.
And then yeah, entrepreneurship minor.
So you've been able to educate yourself online with courses available on a platform that anybody can access. And then when the time came, because you were assisted by this new tool, you've been able to, over the space of a couple of years, build a product that works.
Yeah.
Terrific.
Yeah.
So there is a couple of things there, right? It's we can all access the education to learn new skills. Um, we have new tools that we didn't have just merely 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that do a lot of things, but it still needs time, right? So to separate the wheat from the chaff type of thing, nothing is built overnight.
hmm Yeah.
Though it is built fast, it is built in a ways that 10 years ago was impossible. Still, you need to dedicate yourself, apply yourself, study, learn new skills, learn new tools.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I'd say the technical part is becoming less and less essential, but the customer relationships that matters as much as ever. If I could take anything away from the last 8 months since we launched the initial prototype of GovRat, it's that the your technical experience is only as useful as the customer that it's being used to build products for.
Okay, okay.
And if you're not able to interact with those customers, reach those customers at a at a customer acquisition cost that's profitable, you're not going to have a business no matter how uh, technically gifted you are. Um, that's definitely a part of it, but I think that's only half of it, the technical gift and the processes by which you build things.
Yes, and sometimes even less than a half, right?
Yes, definitely.
Specifically when you know tools and when you like building features and that type of thing. It is hard to understand that exactly what you just mentioned. If people don't find it useful, doesn't solve anything specific, they don't care, right? And so it is also an opportunity because you could build something on an Excel spreadsheet,
Yeah.
and if they find it useful, they will give you big money for it.
Yeah.
So customers, it took me a couple of startups to learn that lesson. Customers don't care about how complex the algorithm or the tool is. If it benefits them, they will pay for it. Great, terrific. So tell me, this monstrosity of the government that we all have in our minds, right? Slow, bureaucratic, which is, it sounds sometimes very true, sometimes very drawn from a fantasy. How is it possible that you can actually break into it? You're not a multi-million-dollar company with hundreds of consultants to deploy and years to do business development. All of a sudden you are having your traction in this industry that is not famous for innovation of sorts. So tell me, how did that happen? What did you learn? How did it go?
Yeah. So we're helping a lot of customers break into the market in terms of selling to the government, and the government procurement landscape, which is what I work in. It's changing so rapidly, not just on the business side, but even on the government. There are certain startups um, that are working. I know Acbot.mil, some other company, Hazel, I think is another company, but they're working on the government side to help the government evaluate all these different contracts. Because typically the government will have to have sometimes 5 different evaluators go section by section through each
Mm,
vendor's proposals. And usually there's about 8 on any different state, local government um, thing. That's the average of 8, but sometimes it can be as much as 60, particularly for those low level contracts where there's a lot more people looking to get them. And the profession has totally changed. Different consultants that I've worked with to figure out how to create an application that's actually useful for helping businesses break into this space.
mhm.
They say that there's almost no other industry that's quite as being disrupted by AI as this one, just because of how text-based it is.
Mm,
And LLMs
yeah.
are able to work with text. Same thing with legal. I know a lot of different contracts are being drafted by LLMs and different AI techniques. So in terms of the government, a lot of people kind of view it as this um, institution that's outside themselves. It's so big, it's so regulated that it's this dragon that they can never slay. Really, it's just people at the end of the day. And if you're able to find the right people, sell them on your vision, whether you're trying to sell them a product or service, or you're trying to transform how the government works. It's the same thing as business at the end of the day. It's convincing
Oh,
people that you can deliver a value
mhm.
and showing them the different steps that they have to take to receive that value and that value calculation on their end and how it works out. So what we found is if you're a private sector company and you can do the work, that's critical, because sometimes there's some gurus out in the government procurement space who will say, all you got to do is write a contract, send in a proposal to the government, and you'll be a millionaire the next day. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. The government is just as decisive or as discerning of a buyer as a private sector customer. For the most part, there are exceptions. Sometimes there are buffoons that
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
get in charge of procurement. But they're going to want to see that you can do the work, and if you can do the work, come to GovRat. We'll articulate that vision to the government for
Mm,
you, that past performance, that you're capable of doing this project,
mhm.
and we can help you get on contract. But I don't want to make any false promises. GovRat and AI is not going to make you a millionaire
Overnight.
overnight, unless you're Cursor. Unless you're Cursor. But they had experience beforehand. Anyways, I'm blabbering, but
That's
um,
that's
yeah.
terrific. It's totally fine. Terrific. Um, where do you see, so another question that we have here is, where do you see the biggest untapped opportunities in state and local government contracts versus federal opportunities, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the federal opportunities in terms of data consolidation, I won't say in terms of access, the federal government's doing an amazing job, but in terms of the data consolidation, uh, I mean, the federal government, for the most part, there are a few sub portals that different agencies will use, but it's all consolidated in one place that most people can use, at least for contracts worth over $25,000. Now it's 50,000, but um, it's all in one place. So in terms of the data transparency, the federal government stuff is already there. Now, only about 2.5 proposals, I think, per solicitation are submitted on average at the federal level. So there's some work there in terms of the competitiveness and bringing more businesses into that space. But I do think that the biggest untapped opportunity, like I said, that was a great question, is in the state and the local space, because oftentimes these opportunities for sometimes millions and millions of uh, dollars in contracts, they're hosted on these small portals that no one checks, and it's one PDF that they put out to check some box in the procedures, and no one ends up finding it because who's checking the um, like random solicitations that this municipality out in rural Arkansas puts out. Most people don't check that, but if we could consolidate that into one platform like GovRat, and then you don't have to comb through all these things, we have an AI that actually will analyze line by line these contracts for you and match them up with you and analyze what's in them and why it's relevant to your company. We found that state and local is our huge value add, because
Okay.
anyone can check these state and local or these federal portals and see
Mhm.
pretty much at a glance like 80% of what's out there
Mhm.
in terms of the dollar value. But the state and local stuff, there's only one company that has been able to uh, consolidate all these state and local things, and they've been charging like $50,000 a year for that sorts of data. And
Wow.
so for a platform like GovRat, we, to my knowledge, and I've talked with the other AI powered platforms in this space, we have the largest internally sourced database of state and local government opportunities, just because we've doubled down on that. I mean,
Mhm.
it's critical to our vision as a company. We're the rats. We're going for we're helping people get their slice of the pie that aren't normally the big dogs, but the rats instead. So we've really doubled and tripled down on that state and local things, despite how hard it is technically
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
to scrape those portals in real time. That's been a huge value add, and we've seen
Love
a
the
lot of
challenge.
potential there.
Yes, I love the challenge. I spent so much time scraping and still do.
Mhm.
It's the source of a lot of good things. And exactly as you said a couple of questions ago, generative AI is built around text. So if you can get the text, you can start doing things that before, used to take a long time, a lot of
Mhm.
effort. Tremendous. I was surprised to hear that on average, there is only 2.5 submissions. Did I understand that correctly? On average, 2.5 submissions per contract out there?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to double and triple that, but Drew will check that. But I believe, according to a General Accountability Office study from 2023,
Mhm.
that is the number. You can double check that. But I think it's about 2.5 per submission, and I think about 60% of defense dollars go uncompeted at all. So it's just one that bids.
Wow,
Yeah.
terrific. Impressive, right? Because I think you're breaking here on a paradigm that people have in their minds, and justly so, based on the numbers you're citing, which is that contracts are only won by big companies, and the competition asphyxiates the small bidder anyway. So why try, right? But you're showing
Yeah.
with numbers that no, there is actually a lot of opportunities, and uncontested contracts are always opportunities to go and offer
Mhm.
something cheaper, better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Terrific.
I think half the goal of our startup is to just, I think people think of the government as this big, scary, if I like don't dot my I's and cross my T's, they're gonna like throw me in jail and like electrocute me. But that might be a little excessive.
No, but
But
I think
um,
that is how it feels from the outside.
yeah, but really the government is just people collectively making decisions in theory, or it's supposed to be for the common good. And if you can offer a service to them that is in the common good of the constituents that they represent, and you can make that offer to them, it's a very it's a very lucrative opportunity, both for yourself as a business, but also for the constituents that they serve. So it really, in terms of the consequences of a failed thing, the government has more lawyers. That is the case, but it's about the same as you would see in terms of risk level that the private sector has.
Terrific. Awesome. I have a couple more questions for you. And one is, because your generation is going through college while generative AI is becoming a thing, I get a lot of signals from my students, and I also, on the news generally out there, there's a lot of fear, right? The basic question that I'm being asked all the time, and I hear others asking and others trying to answer, is, will there be a job for me when I graduate? Obviously, you have a different take here because you built a company and you built a product using generative AI, and generative AI is central to what your company is doing, being able to do it. But what is your message to a young generation that sees it and is afraid of it, and sees professors like me, other colleagues speaking about lost opportunity because it affects learning? So it's a huge question, right? But what is your take? What is your overall take about this? What is your suggestion?
Yeah, that's a really, really great question, and I don't know what the future is going to hold. So everything I say should be taken with a grain of salt. But there is definitely a lot of uncertainty. I think if you are hoping to go into a text-based field, uh, you probably, in order to have someone pay you to do it, you have to have a product or an offering of yourself that either outstrips what a generative AI can do, or you have to, in terms of volume, be able to provide a lot more value by using generative AI. So instead of being a low-level lawyer, like reading through different case laws and precedents and doing that one at a time, you're going to get beat by a lawyer who's able to harness these technologies and ingest 100 times as much case law and create better legal arguments that are rooted in better things. And so I think you need to embrace the technology. Fearing it isn't going to do anything. It's here. It's not going to go away. And so embracing it in however you're going to bring value to a customer or to an employer,
Mhm.
I would integrate LLMs, generative AI, with whatever that value proposition is you bring. Because if you're hoping to do something that is no longer useful to a customer or to an employer, once generative AI is there, I would suggest you pivot. And I think that's going to be a lot more rewarding to do things that are bigger in terms of their volume. So for like what GovRat does essentially is workflows that would normally be done by a procurement specialist who knows all the ins and outs of the regulations and the requirements and
Mhm.
all of that.
Mhm.
We do kind of step into some of that role. Now, at the end of the day, even government contracting is a relationships business, so you do need people. But some of those text-based, like menial, busy work workflows, like I don't know of any 5-year-old that wakes up in the morning and says, when I grow up, I want to be someone who reads procurement policy for a living. And
Nobody
so
does.
maybe it allows you to pursue your dream of actually like building good products for the government or for other people. And
Mhm.
so there is uncertainty, and there's whenever there's doubt, there's fear. Um, but I don't think you need to be quite as fearful of LLMs. They're not
Mhm.
gonna eat you. They just might allow you to work on bigger and better things.
Yes, terrific, great. It's very refreshing to hear somebody in your generation having this outlook and having the bills to prove it, right? Because it's not that you're just having this outlook, you're actually living an experience right now, a reality that you have built around using this technology. So it's extremely refreshing. So one last question is, how can we help you? What would you like people that is listening to this in Alma's network, but my generation overall, what can we do for a young entrepreneur that is just starting? You are graduating in May of 2026, right?
I graduated in December actually, but
December, of
yeah,
course, of
same
course. You're
time frame.
graduating earlier. Terrific. So what can we do? What does anybody who wants to support you do for you, help you with? Tell us your wish list.
Yeah, so at the university level, I think that the best way to educate us in a world with AI is to not deny that it exists. So going to like draconian measures to try and preclude AI from your learning method, I don't think it's going to be very helpful to people that are enrolled in university and paying $40,000 a year. What I think should happen is have higher expectations from us in terms of the value that we can output. So instead of asking us to write an essay on some topic, ask us to deliver some value. Maybe we have to create a entirely new like data representation for the concepts that you're talking about, or deliver some product that is going to be valuable in an era with AI, whereas essays might be going the way kind of essays about knowledge that don't articulate a vision uh, that hasn't been articulated before. That's probably not going to be something that's quite as useful. So I would challenge professors. Obviously, it's hard to do, just because in any profession you do what came before. But the professors that I think are going to be super valuable to students are the ones that think beyond of how can I prepare these people for a world with AI and not try to stick to the world that came before it. And I would say in computer science especially, I think it's important to be able to know how to read code right now. But I've been able to build a production grade application. Well, I'd say about 90% of the code in our code base, and this is the same at companies like Microsoft. 90% of the code in their code base is written by AI now, or the new code. So I would say that computer science specifically, maybe reordering based on that new reality, would be useful. But for universities, that would be the thing. And then to support young entrepreneurs, just be honest with us. If our idea sucks, I've had a lot of stupid ideas. When I was a freshman and sophomore, I had so many stupid ideas. I think I started 8 like different businesses over the course of freshman and sophomore year before I landed on GovRat, and they were all stupid. And someone telling me that they were stupid
Okay.
would have been very useful to me at the time to help me get to a better idea faster.
Terrific.
But yeah, so those are the two things. I kind
Awesome.
of rambled a little bit there, but
Awesome.
yeah.
I take them to heart. I take them to heart. It's very refreshing to hear that you want to be challenged, and we can expect more from your generation because you have a tool that allows you to produce more. It's very honest. It's very true. I read somewhere, so I didn't come up with this, but the challenge for us professors is such that, hey, if our exam can be cheated with a
Yeah.
machine, we should rethink our exam, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So
definitely.
we have here a challenge in front of everybody. So we need to raise up to the occasion and bring new approaches. Terrific. I love the conversation. Thank you for providing this time in your busy schedule to spend it with me. I look forward to seeing where GovRat goes. We are here to support you, whether it is in my capacity as a professor or as a fellow entrepreneur with Alma. Reach out. We look forward to seeing your progress. And yes, who knows? The sky is the limit. Keep bringing light to the world. Look, it's tremendous to see you.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Professor Walt.
Terrific.